The wind came first, howling across the plains like a warning whispered by the earth itself. It rattled the loose boards of the old ranch house and pressed icy fingers through every crack it could find. Samuel Carter stood at the window, lantern in hand, watching snow fall in slow, stubborn sheets. Christmas Eve had arrived quietly that year, without laughter, without song, without the warmth it once carried. For the third winter in a row, Samuel was alone. He had not always been a lonely man. Once, this house had been full of footsteps, of soft singing in the evenings, of a woman who smiled even when life was hard. But sickness had taken Mary one cold autumn morning, leaving behind silence that no amount of work could fill. The ranch survived because Samuel forced himself to survive with it. He woke before dawn, tended the horses, fixed fences, and spoke to no one unless he had to. Grief had hardened him, not into cruelty, but into distance. He believed the world asked nothing of him anymore, and that he had nothing left to give. As the snow thickened, Samuel turned away from the window. He told himself that Christmas was just another night. He had bread, a little dried meat, and enough firewood to last until morning. That was more than many had. He set the lantern down, added a log to the fire, and sat in his chair, staring into the flames as if answers might rise from them. Then he heard it. A knock. At first, he thought it was the wind throwing something against the door. But it came again, soft, hesitant, unmistakably human. Samuel's body tensed. Visitors were rare on that stretch of land, especially after dark, and fear had learned to live quietly in his chest since Mary died. He reached for the rifle near the door, not lifting it, only resting his hand on the worn wood. The knock came a third time, weaker now, followed by a voice carried by the storm. "Please," the voice said. "I need a shelter." Samuel opened the door slowly. Standing on his porch were two Apache women, cloaked in worn blankets dusted white with snow. One was older, her face lined with years of sun and sorrow. The other was younger, no more than 20, her dark eyes steady despite the cold. Between them stood a small child, shivering, clutching the younger woman's hand. For a long moment, no one spoke. The wind rushed past them, impatient, uncaring. Samuel's mind raced. He knew the stories people told, stories filled with fear, suspicion, and cruelty. He also knew how often those stories were born from ignorance. Still, the world he lived in was not gentle, and trust did not come easily to a man who had already buried the person he loved most. The younger woman met his gaze. Her voice did not tremble. "We are not here to harm you," she said. "The storm found us before we found a place to rest. The child is cold. If you turn us away, we will keep walking." Samuel looked down at the child. Her lips were blue, her small shoulders shaking beneath the blanket. Something in his chest shifted, an old, aching memory of Mary wrapping scarves around the neighborhood children, scolding the cold as if it could hear her. He stepped aside. "Come in," he said quietly. The fire crackled as they entered, snow melting onto the wooden floor. Samuel closed the door behind them, sealing out the storm. The warmth of the room met them like a blessing. The older woman whispered something in Apache, her eyes closing briefly, as if offering thanks. Samuel set the rifle back where it belonged. "You can sit by the fire," he said. "I don't have much, but it's warm." The younger woman nodded. "Warm is enough." They sat in silence at first, the kind that carries both caution and relief. Samuel poured water into a pot and placed it over the fire, then broke the bread in half. He handed it to them without ceremony, as though this were the most ordinary thing in the world. The child took a small bite and smiled. That smile struck Samuel harder than any blow. It was pure, unguarded, untouched by the weight the adults carried. He felt something loosen inside him, something he hadn't realized he'd been holding tight. "My name is Samuel," he said, finally. "I'm Naya," the younger woman replied. "This is my mother, Elu, and this is my daughter, Ayana." Samuel nodded to each of them. Names mattered. Mary had always said that learning someone's name was the first act of respect. As the storm raged outside, The ranch house became a small island of warmth and shared humanity. Naya told him they had been traveling to reach distant relatives after their village was forced to move. Supplies had run low. The storm had come faster than expected. They had prayed for shelter, not knowing if anyone would open their door. Samuel listened. He did not interrupt. He simply listened, something he had not done enough of in recent years. When the water boiled, he poured it into tin cups. Elu wrapped her hands around hers, breathing in the steam. Her eyes met Samuel's, and in them he saw not threat, but gratitude layered over exhaustion. "You honor us," she said slowly, her English careful but clear. "Many doors are closed to us." Samuel swallowed. "I know something about closed doors," he replied. That night, as the storm screamed its fury, they shared the small meal Samuel had. He spread blankets on the floor near the fire for them to sleep, insisting they take his bed. Naya hesitated, but Samuel shook his head. "It's just a bed," he said. "You need it more." When the house finally grew quiet, Samuel lay on the floor, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in years, the silence did not feel empty. It felt full. In the early hours of Christmas morning, Samuel woke to the sound of soft singing. Naya sat near the fire, humming a melody that felt older than the land itself. The firelight danced across her face, and for a moment, Samuel imagined Mary sitting there, singing while the world slept. His chest tightened, but the pain was different now, less sharp, more tender. "You sing beautifully," he said. Naya smiled gently. "Songs carry warmth," she replied. "They remind us we are not alone." As dawn broke, the storm finally loosened its grip. Snow lay thick and clean across the plains, transforming the harsh land into something almost holy. Samuel brewed coffee, the smell filling the house. Elu watched him with curiosity. "This day," she said, "is important to you, yes?" "It is," Samuel answered. "Or it used to be." "Then today is still alive," she said. "As long as hearts are breathing, days do not die." Something about her words settled deep within him. They planned to leave once the sun rose higher. Samuel felt an unexpected weight at the thought. He told himself it was foolish. These women were travelers, and he was a man rooted in his grief. Still, when Naya wrapped her blanket tighter and prepared the child to go, Samuel spoke. "You don't have to leave today," he said. "The roads will still be hard. You can stay until it's safer." Naya looked to her mother. Elu studied Samuel carefully, as though measuring not his words, but his spirit. "We will stay one more night," Elu decided. That second day changed everything. Samuel showed them the horses, the barn, the wide stretch of land he had worked alone for years. Ayana laughed when a horse nuzzled her hair. That laughter echoed across the fields, breaking something open in Samuel's soul. Naya helped him mend a fence. Their hands worked side by side, comfortable in shared purpose. She spoke of her people's traditions, of resilience passed from one generation to the next. Samuel spoke of Mary, of her kindness, her stubborn hope, the way she believed goodness multiplied when shared. As the sun dipped low, Samuel realized something that startled him. He felt useful again. That night, after supper, Elu placed a small carved token on the table. It was simple, shaped like a circle. "This is a symbol of continuity," she said. "Of life moving forward, even after loss. We give it to you." Samuel shook his head. "I can't take that." "Elus mile. You already have. With your kindness." The emotional weight of her words pressed against him. Tears filled his eyes before he could stop them. He had thought his heart was done with breaking. He had been wrong. On the third morning, they prepared to leave. The road ahead was still uncertain, but the storm had passed. Samuel packed food for them, more than he could spare, but he did not hesitate. At the door, Naya turned to him. "You gave us shelter," she said. "But more than that, you reminded us that humanity still lives in unexpected places." Samuel struggled to speak. "You reminded me too." Ayana stepped forward and hugged his leg. "Thank you for Christmas," she said. The words shattered him in the best way. As they walked away, their figures growing smaller against the vast white land. Samuel stood in the doorway, feeling both the ache of goodbye and the warmth of something newly born. The ranch felt different after they left. Not quieter, but gentler. Samuel cleaned the house, humming without realizing it. He hung the carved token by the window, where the light caught it each morning. In the weeks that followed, Samuel found himself opening his door more often. To travelers, to neighbors, to life. The kindness he had offered that Christmas Eve did not leave with the women. It stayed, growing roots in his once barren heart. Years later, Samuel would tell the story to children gathered by his fire. He would say that on the loneliest Christmas of his life, 3 strangers knocked on his door, and instead of losing what little he had, he gained something immeasurable. Because compassion, he learned, is never a loss, is a return. And sometimes the simple act of offering shelter becomes the moment that saves us all.